XM NASCAR Radio.
NASCAR News now. Jimmy Johnson became a two-time Daytona 500 winner on Sunday when he held off his Hendrick Motorsports teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. to win the 55th annual running of the Daytona 500. And team owner Rick Hendrick said that 500 win will carry a lot of momentum for the 48 team going forward.
This is the Super Bowl, so it carries you. You're the Daytona champion all year long. And every year we've won this thing, it's just given us big, a lot of momentum. So to come out of here with running 1-2 is, it's a big boost, and we get to celebrate. I mean, when you leave Daytona, if you've had a bad race, it takes you 4 or 5 races to get over it. So the good momentum will carry us for a while.
Crew Chief Chad Canales visited the Sirius XM NASCAR Radio post-race show and said Sunday's win was the result of lots of preparation by the Hendrick team.
It was tough. It was a lot of hard work this winter. The guys on the teams, and not just the 48 team, but every team out there, they had to work so hard during the offseason to try to get these cars where we thought they needed to be. So there's a huge sense of accomplishment for everybody at Hendrick Motorsports. I was very proud of what everybody did.
Top 10 from Daytona: Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mark Martin was third, Brad Keselowski and Ryan Newman your top 5, Greg Biffle, Regan Smith, Danica Patrick, who started from the pole, finished 8th, Michael McDowell and J.J. Yaley rounded out the top 10. That's the Morning Drive News for Monday, February 25th, 2013. I'm Pete Pistone.
Brace yourself.
The Morning Drive.
The dynamic duo of morning radio.
That just doesn't sound right.
28 minutes before the top of the hour. Pete Pistone and Mike Skinner in for the Bagman today on this Monday edition of the Morning Drive. We're live from D5X here in Daytona. Let's go right to the Valvoline hotline and bring in the crew chief of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the number 88 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. Second place finished yesterday in the Daytona 500. Steve LetarteT's on TMD. What's going on, Stevie?
Morning, gentlemen. How y'all?
We're doing fine. Congratulations on your runner-up finish yesterday here in Daytona.
Yeah, it's bittersweet, I guess. 2 years ago we've run second down there. It's definitely better to finish second to our teammate than to a competitor. But, especially run 1-2 out of the 48-88 shop. I know there's a group of guys that, man, they're barely touching the ground walking around the shop today, and they deserve it. Everyone at Hendrick Motorsports put in a tremendous effort. Hendrick Engines went down there and swept the front row, and now Hendrick Engines have swept the first 2 finishing spots for the Daytona 500. That's as good as it can get.
Steve, just looking at the cars and looking at the way the racing was, it looks like, Dale made a classic move. He had a big puff of wind there, kind of run out of steam coming off of 4 there. But track position seems to be a little more key with this Gen 6 car than the old-style cars we had in the mid to late 90s. And do you think that these moves are just going to have to be made a little bit earlier and then try to put yourself in position to make another run at them?
Well, I think, I'll be the first to say it. I know it's not a popular statement, but I love the race. I love this car. I think that is what restricted plate racing should be. It's what I grew up with. There is a serious skill involved that you have to have now. You were there in the years in the late 90s and early 2000s where, you just didn't hold it wide open and beat and bang in the pack. You had to know what you were doing. When Dale Sr. won all those races and when Dale Jr. won all his races, Jeff Gordon, I was, fortunate enough to work with him, and he was so successful at these restricted plate races that there's a skill involved. And I think we saw that towards the end of the race, that we were 12th or 14th, and all day long we see no passing and track position so important, but yet Dale Jr. finds a way from 14th to 2nd in the closing laps. And I think, the car's kind of getting a bad rap. In my mind, you have to go back and look at all 12 days, and that led up to the Daytona 500. Crashes in practice, crashes in other races, and then the Daytona 500 itself. When you have accidents that take out contenders like the 5, the 14, the 29 so early, that allows everyone to be a little more relaxed. Now you can be less aggressive and you're 10th in line. If you put 5 or 8 of those cars back in the race, I think you see, a little more beating and banging trying to get to the front.
Yeah.
It's kind of it was a whole culmination of the week, I think, is what we saw on Sunday.
Walk us through your week, Steve, because it wasn't easy to get that second place finish. You guys had some challenges. It was a bit of an adventurous week for the 88 team. Kind of tell the listeners, from when we got down here to when you went home last night, how the week went for you overall.
Well, I think that's why I'm such a big fan of it, Pete. We showed up down there after the test. We thought we had great speed. We're really disappointed in our qualifying run in 11th. We thought we were going to end up in the front 4 or 5. And then we ended the Sprint Unlimited with a ton of confidence. Thought we had what it took to run well. And we were flat. We ran in 9th, 10th position the whole night. There was only 20 cars in the race. And then on Wednesday, we broke an engine. We didn't have time to do a lot of practice. We thought we were prepared for the 150s, and really it was the same thing again. 9th or 10th in a 20-car race. What I love is we have a car that we hit it hard on Friday, hard on Saturday, turned over to the right stones, fortunate for us, found some speed, and took a mediocre car in the middle of speed weeks to be a capable of winning car at the end of speed weeks. That's something you couldn't do in years past. And I think, as a crew chief and as a fan of the sport, that is what I like to see.
The old car, the COT car, I heard a lot of crew chiefs say this, and I always said it, that my little bit of experience that I had with it, it was an 1/8-inch packer away from being a top 5 to a back 5 car. It was such on a razor blade. Have we thickened that up a little bit with this car, you think?
Oh, no. If I told you what I changed to go from mid-pack on Thursday to about winning on Sunday, you would not feel comfortable about it. It's small, very, 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 very small. But I don't think that's the car. I think that's technology. I think that's the tight rule book. I think that is the quality of personnel in the Cup garage. I don't think the car is what made an 8-packer make such a big difference. I think that everyone is that close is what makes that difference. And that's that says a lot about our sport. It says a lot about the companies and the owners and NASCAR, of how NASCAR has put its footprint in the market, the sports market in the country, and we're getting such quality engineering, such quality mechanics that there is not a huge room for error. The race car drivers are as good as they've ever been all the way through the field. I think when you add that all up, it doesn't take a huge change to make your car a competitive car.
Talking to Steve Letarte here on the hotline. He finished second yesterday with Dale Earnhardt Jr. here in the Daytona 500. How much momentum does this give you? We had Mr. Hendrick in here, we had Chad in here, we had Jimmy in here. Obviously, when you win the 500, you got a lot of momentum going forward. What about finishing second in the way you guys ran yesterday, Steve? Does that help the team's confidence level?
Well, we think we saw last year where it single-handedly helped our confidence level. Phoenix, we're going to Phoenix this week. It's a track. It's probably our worst track on the circuit. We were awful there, really, all the races out there with Dale. We've been pit strategy our way to a top 15, which is just, we expect way more than that. So to be able to leave Daytona with some confidence, with some points, the season has started. I know it's the Daytona 500, but 25 races from today, someone will be left out of the chase, and they're going to be very disappointed when it happens. And we know that. We talked about that Sunday morning before the 500 started. And, you talk about how races flow and how this is our regular season, and our goal is to win races and make the chase. And trying to make the chase started yesterday, and we had a pretty good start to it.
Top 5s and top 10s, you do that every week, you're guaranteed in that chase. You're going to be in the chase. So I think I agree. Good start. Great start.
It is. There's so much work, and Mike, as well as anybody, so much effort goes into the Daytona 500 that winning it is great, but having a poor Daytona 500 it can pop the balloon. And it's so hard to get going again, and it's always good to see that work pay off.
Well, yeah, and, we mentioned the great quality of cars that got taken out earlier, whether they had mechanical problems or whether it was the big first crash there where somebody got a little anxious or whatever. You put those guys back in it, the strategy changes, and the race does, I think that's better put than anything that we've talked about this morning so far about people saying how the race just got in a lull in the middle of it. You put all those guys back in it, and people wouldn't have been sitting down in the seat going, okay, let's just relax here. We don't need to be over there in the garage with those guys. Let's get to the end.
Yeah.
We got to give this thing a chance.
Yeah, and if there's a way that we could broadcast the brains of the crew chief on pit road, that last green flag pit stop was stressful. We had negotiating. We had talking. Are you going to take gasoline or are you going to take 2? Well, you need 9 gallons. Are you going to dump a whole can or can you leave the gallons a little bit short? I mean, there was a lot of stress on pit road because everyone knew they needed to be towards the front. And when all the leaders hit pit road, we in the 88, I figured there's no way we can go from 12th to 1st. So we ran that extra lap with the 51, got on pit road clean, got 2 tires. I mean, there's so much that went into that race. And I know that's unique and that's different, and that's not what the fans are used to seeing. They're used to seeing 3-wide racing. But I think there is a market for that excitement and intense pit strategy and calls and the pressure involved in that. We as a sport and me as a creature, it's our duty kind of to find a way to bring that to the race fans, because I think the fans will really enjoy that if we find a way to kind of bring it home into their living room.
That's pretty cool, because that's like saying, okay, before we criticize what happened, let's watch the whole race. And the whole race was that strategy that you did and strategy that others did or did not do, that took a car that could have been in the top 5 and ended up 14th.
Yeah, and, and I think we're going to make some tweaks. I think Goodyear can make some tweaks. Now that we've raced the car, I think the competitors will make tweaks. I don't think it's only going to get better from here, and I thought it was a great opening day for the Gen 6 car.
Where were you on fuel on that final run after that yellow came out when the piece of aluminum was there in turn 2? I was listening, as you said, a lot of teams were saying, hey, save me some fuel here. Were you guys close?
No, we weren't. See, that's kind of where we were at. We went to the Daytona 500 to win. And when we were 12th coming to the last green flag pit stop, everyone was going to put in the bare minimum of fuel. We ran the extra lap. We put 2 tires on and put in an extra 3 gallons because we figured if there was going to be green, white checkers, we wanted to be able to stay out through all of them. It was really our best strategy. And, so we weren't close on fuel at all. And that really allowed us to have a lot of confidence that if another yellow came out, we were going to be fine. I'll admit, I knew he had a good car, but Dale Jr., he amazes me every time he gets behind the wheel at a restricted plate race. When we came around with about 3 to go, I just thought, man, maybe we could get to 3rd, maybe 4th. But when he made that move, it was the biggest run I've seen all day long. And if we didn't get stalled a little going on into the 16, I really think we could have got door-to-door with Jimmy Johnson coming to the checkered flag, but it was just a little too late.
Dale might not like this, but I got to say the apple don't fall far from the tree when it comes to
it's we've seen those moves before, haven't we, Mike?
Yes, sir. Been a part of them.
Yep. Let me tell you something. Michelle heard the cheer at home, and she wasn't even watching the race. When he got near the front, the fans all stood up, and I thought you guys were going to do it. I really did.
I learned an awful lot from his father at this racetrack.
Yeah,
it was amazing, because we were about row 7 with 15 to go, and we try to be polite all day long and work with guys that work with us, but with about 14 to go, he come over very calm and said, okay, just count them down to me. We need to get a little closer. And he took somebody 3 wide, and somebody else 3 wide, somebody else 3 wide. And when the caution came out, we were passing the 10 3 wide. And he does things with a car that you don't think is possible. And, it's a testament to him and his unbelievable skill behind the wheel. But I'll have to say, it's a testament. I'm really proud of my guys. We didn't have a car that could do that, even with Dale Jr. on Thursday. And they worked hard. We worked the hardest I've worked in a long time at Daytona, making changes. We ran every single practice. We didn't tell him not to get in the pack. We weren't concerned about crashing a car. We had another great car in the truck. All of that preparation added up to being able to give Dale Jr. the car he had for Sunday.
There's been a lot of talk, are we going to tweak rules and all that stuff? I talked with Dale Jr. on pit road after the race, and he came in the media center. He said, Steve, he really likes this package. He doesn't see any reason to change anything.
No, I love the package. I think it's it's hard. I understand what the race fans say. They're gotten used to the big packs. But I was fortunate enough to crew chief for Dale in the nationwide race with the tandem, and there's no way I would choose that over what we had Sunday. I think that from a racing standpoint, you have to work harder. You have to understand the draft. We always hear it's a lottery or it's a crapshoot. The Daytona 500 was nowhere near a lottery. The Daytona 500, the best cars were at the front of that pack at the end of that race. And that's how it should be. That's how it'll be at Phoenix. That's how it'll be at Vegas. That's how it should be when we go to the Super Bowl of auto racing. And I felt the cars that weren't damaged, the best ones were at the front. And, in my opinion, that's how racing should be. And I think the racing, it can get more exciting. Was it a little lackadaisical in the middle of the race? Absolutely. But I think that will change over time. Like we said earlier, you put 43 cars out there. You don't have the big accident early. It's hard to judge off just one showing. And I've said this since media day in January. We really are going to have to give this car probably all the way through Talladega, probably the whole first third of the year, before we really see what kind of production and performance this car will have, moving forward.
How do you get ready now and put this behind you and get geared up for Phoenix? How quickly does that happen?
It's happening. It's been happening.
I can hear it in his voice. He's
Yes,
geared up.
me
for
too.
Phoenix.
I think I knew the answer to
Yeah,
that one.
it's been happening. That's what makes Daytona so busy. Is we're not only are we working in speed weeks, but I'm in the lounge returning emails, conference calling with the shop, working on our cars, because it's not just Phoenix. You know, we check in a day early at Vegas. So our Vegas cars have to leave Friday. Our Phoenix cars leave today. You know, there's so many cars that have to come out of these shops that, you know, we're ready. We think we're ready. We've put all the hard work in. We just got to put some finishing touches on it here today. And, you know, go to the racetrack and see. You know, Phoenix is a big unknown. It's a hard track to go to. You can't really go anywhere and test for Phoenix. The tire's new this year. And like I said, statistically, it's probably Dale and I's worst track, short of maybe Sonoma. So, you know, we're going to go there and try to turn Leaf over and get another good solid run in.
So what you're saying is you'd take second at Phoenix right now and not even go?
If you give me second, I'd just see you in Vegas.
All right. Well, you're going to have to earn it. It's not that easy, so you're going to have to go out there.
Wish we had that power.
Yeah, exactly. We don't.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Steve, on a great run for you. A 1-2 finish for Hendrick Motorsports. Appreciate the time this morning, as always, and best of luck this weekend in the Valley of the Sun.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'd like to say, you know, I was down at the Daytona 500. That has got to be, I know they don't do attendance numbers and all that, but that had to be one of the best crowds. Saturday night, Dale and I went to dinner. We rode through the infield on the way out, and the place was jam-packed.
It
and
was cool.
I'm telling you,
Really
that was
cool.
the most electric Daytona 500 we've had in a long time. And, you know, it was a lot of fun to be part of.
Yeah, sure was. That infield was jam-packed. You're exactly right about that. All right, man, go back to work. We'll catch up with you down the road.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, Steve Letarte, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief, second place.